This episode is for you if you've just started applying to assistant psychologist roles or you've been applying for a while and you're just not getting the interviews. Hello everyone, I'm Maja. I'm a psychology graduate and an aspiring clinical psychologist. Over the past year, I've submitted over 40 AP applications. I've spent countless hours researching tips, reading advice, watching videos online, just trying to understand what actually works, what gets you those AP interviews. Eventually, these strategies that I'm about to share with you today helped me secure 2 AP interviews. And I really want to share with you what I learned, what actually works to help you do the same. My first few applications were absolutely terrible. I kept applying to band 5 roles straight out of uni. I thought even if I don't meet most of the criteria, if I just get my passion for psychology across in the supporting statement, that will be enough. Babes, it is not. But with every application, every iteration, it did eventually get better. I want you today to learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to go through that same grueling process and you get your interviews quicker than I did. Before I give you my top 3 tips from selecting the applications to writing an effective supporting statement, I want to make sure that you have your psychology degree or you're graduating sometime soon with a graduate basis for chartership, and you have some kind of work experience in mental health that you can draw on, because without those 2 things, you just might not be ready for AP roles just yet. And if you don't know where to start with mental health experience, I really recommend that you listen to one of my videos. It's called 10 Jobs That Will Transform Your Clinical Psychology Career. And it gives you loads of different ideas for jobs all the way from volunteer work to more advanced PWP and CAP type roles. So it's got a whole variety of ideas for you. Okay, so now that that's out the way, I'm speaking to someone who hopefully has finished their psychology degree and you have some experience, maybe support worker or healthcare assistant, or maybe even caring for a family member. The first tip is choosing your applications wisely. And the reason that is important is because you don't have much time. Some of these applications are open for maybe a week or 2 if you're lucky, but a lot of them are open for a few days, maybe even just 1 day. And these applications really take a lot of time and effort, especially at the start. So I have 2 things that I would recommend for this. Firstly, only apply for band 4 roles. If you're just starting out, if you've maybe just graduated recently, I would say unless you have previous AP experience, or you have some kind of postgraduate qualification, or you have extensive experience in that specific service that you're applying to, then maybe band 5 roles are suitable for you. But if you're just starting out, if you've just come out of an undergraduate degree, and your experience is like a support worker or a healthcare assistant or helpline worker, these sorts of things, I would recommend going for band 4 roles first. Now, the second thing that I would recommend doing is only applying to roles where you meet all the essential criteria and most of the desirable criteria. There are some criteria that maybe you don't meet, but you can still draw on examples or demonstrate your understanding in some way. And I'm going to get into this more later on in the episode. But the key thing that I want you to ask yourself is, can I write an example for each of these criteria? Tip number 2 is for the employment section. If you've already tried an application on track, you'll probably see that you have to fill out an employment section where you list each of your work experiences. So what I would recommend that you do is have a look at the job description for the role that you're applying to, and specifically the duties and responsibilities of the role, and seeing if you've already done any of those in your previous roles and making sure that you incorporate those into your employment section descriptions. So some general things that they look for that you might want to include are things like multidisciplinary team meetings, supervision, ideally clinical supervision, and showing that you're open to feedback and you reflect a lot. Another one is application of psychology. So if you ever had a chance to use your psychological knowledge and apply it, maybe you had the opportunity to deal with service users' distress in a way, Or maybe if the role involves running groups, maybe you want to incorporate that you've ran groups in the past, that you've ran specific interventions. So things like that, just basically tailoring your employment section to parts of the job description where you can. Now, tip number 3, the supporting statement. This is the most important section. If you take anything away from this episode, it is this. Address each and every criteria from the person specification in your supporting statement. I would bullet point every single one, put a dash next to it, and give an example of how you demonstrate that criteria. Make sure you just make it as easy to read as possible. Like, they have so many applications to get through and you don't want to make their jobs harder. Like, you want them to literally just be like tick, 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 tick. Okay, that's a suitable candidate. Let's invite them for the interview. Now, when you address each of the criteria, make sure that you give specific and relevant examples, even if you don't meet all the criteria. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to give you 3 examples from my applications that got me an interview. So a very general criterion that they use in most AP person specifications is high-level communication, and they normally say verbal and written communication. For this one, I literally wrote out high-level communication skills, and then I put a colon next to it, and then I wrote this. I have demonstrated strong written and verbal communication skills through academic work, clinical reports, and direct interactions with service users, tailoring my communication to suit individual needs. That's showing clear examples of where I used effective communications and my understanding of what is needed in a mental health service when it comes to communication. So that would be tailoring your communication to individual needs. Now, even if you don't meet all the criteria, I still want you to address those points in your supporting statement. And this is how you can do it. So for one of my applications that got me an interview, I applied to a memory clinic, and I had no previous experience in a memory clinic, right? So the way that I addressed one of the criterion, which was understanding the needs of people with mental health problems, I just used the experience that I had, and I still related it to the clinical population, even though I didn't have direct experience with it. And this is how I did it. I said, my roles have allowed me to work with diverse clinical populations, expanding my understanding of the needs of people with mental health problems. For individuals with memory difficulties, it is important to express additional patience, empathy, and support while empowering them to make autonomous decisions where possible. So, as you can see, even though I don't have direct experience here, and I'm not saying that I do, I'm still demonstrating how I understand what the needs of that clinical population are. Similarly, with the other interview that I got, this was for a pediatric epilepsy service, so a completely different service, and one of the criteria was experience with epilepsy. I had 0 experience with epilepsy, right? So for that criterion, I still addressed it, and what I said was, while I have not worked with individuals with epilepsy directly, I have a foundational understanding of the needs of the condition. I recognize the importance of adherence to anti-epileptic medication and creating a safe environment to reduce the risk of injury during seizures. So I'm being very specific, giving specific examples of what I understand the clinical population to need and how I would demonstrate that in the role, because ultimately that is what they're looking for. So use the description of the service, of the responsibilities of the role to show exactly how you would use your skills, your experience, your knowledge in that specific role. I know I'm saying specific a lot, but it is really important that you tailor the application to what that service needs. Now, some general tips that are also quite important, I would say. Firstly, make sure you move fast. I don't think I can understate how quickly some of these job posts go. I don't know if it's mainly London or big cities, but some of them honestly are gone in like a day or 2 days. It's ridiculous. But honestly, it's just so important that you do move fast, but still, let me emphasize that you do tailor the application. So I would spend maybe 3-4 hours on an application. I definitely spent more when I started off, but yeah, this process will definitely get easier and quicker with time. One thing that I would do now to really speed up this process is keeping track of all the different examples that you use to address criteria, because so many of them just keep repeating themselves. So things like high level communication skills, you'll probably be using that in every single application. So I would just copy and paste that same example over and over again. And over time, you'll probably have this whole bank of examples that you can use in each of your applications that you can just copy and paste and maybe just adjust a couple things, adjust a couple of the points to make it more tailored to that service. Another thing is be confident. Don't be afraid to sell yourself, to emphasize your skills and your experiences and really show them that you're suitable for that role, even if you don't think that you're quite ready yet. You have to act like you are. This is how we get those interviews, by showing exactly how we are ready to learn and to step into that role. Now, the final thing that I would say is learn to be okay with the job adverts closing early, which I know is so frustrating. It would really get me down, and I would just say just try to not be so hard on yourself, because it happens to all of us and it happens a lot, and yeah, it's not your fault. That's the kind of system that we're in right now in terms of AP applications. So don't be too hard on yourself if that does happen. And 2, dealing with rejections. If you're constantly getting rejected, I know it stings and I know it can feel really horrible and demoralizing. I've definitely been there and felt that. I just want you to know that you're not alone in that. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. Like, the fact that you're watching this or listening to this shows that you really are committed and you're driven and you really want that clinical psychology career. So with that passion, I'm sure that you will get there eventually. Just keep going, keep applying. And look, if you're really struggling with how these rejections are affecting you, if you feel like you've really taken a hit on your self-esteem, then please go listen to my episode on dealing with rejection. I go into why we feel the way we do when we get rejected and practical things that you can do to really boost your self-esteem. The episode is under 30 minutes long, and it could be just the self-esteem boost that you need to keep going with these applications. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it. Best of luck going forward with your applications. My heart really does go out to you if you're really struggling at the moment, but just know that you're not alone in this process. You will get there eventually. Thank you for being here today, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.